Arizona is a veritable rattlesnake nest of election lies. The state's already seen 18 cases of alleged voter intimidation at drop boxes referred to the Department of Justice based on those lies. And even in a year with hundreds of election liars and deniers on ballots across the country, Arizona's really on quite another level. It's the only state where all of the major Republican candidates for U.S. Senate, for governor, for attorney general, and for secretary of state, all of them deny the truth. The fact that Joe Biden legitimately won the 2020 election, that there was no widespread election fraud. In the Secretary of State race, the Republican candidate Mark Finchem was actually in the crowd on January 6th. We invited Finchem on the show tonight, again, but have not heard back from his campaign. I'm joined by the Democrat who's running to keep Finchem from that office, which controls elections in Arizona, Adrian. He's a former U.S. Marine and former Maricopa County recorder. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. You've called your state a, quote, powder keg. How real is the risk that somebody will get hurt next week, either trying to vote or during the counting of ballots or in any related way?
Well, Jake, thanks for having me. The risk is real, and that's the problem. We are finally at a weird place in the United States of America, an uncomfortable place, where we're actually talking about the possibility of violence in what ought to be the most civil and civilian activity that we have in the United States of America, which is elections and voting. This is what they have devolved us into. The election liars, the election deniers, the oath keepers, the insurrectionists. They have brought us here because of one person's loss. And that is the true disgrace that we are facing. And we've got to have a comeuppance about this.
A federal judge ruled that the people staking out the ballot boxes, some of them armed, have a First Amendment right to do so, while in another case banning them from taking pictures of voters. What are the actual rules about what is and what is not allowed?
Well, that's why they're in front of the courts. This isn't something that anybody has ever really contemplated that much. Ballot drop boxes have always been pretty mundane. You know, you go up, you drop your ballot in the box, and that's that. But these folks who have so corrupted their own narrative and so bent their own minds around the big lie have gotten themselves to the place where now we're in court trying to figure out exactly how it is that we can keep our own people safe and feeling safe while they are voting. Imagine that, Jake. In the United States of America, we now can describe fear in the hearts of American citizens at the prospect of going and voting. That is absolutely shameful. It is the MAGA Republicans who are responsible, particularly people like my opponent, who continue to, without any evidence, push the big lie. It's a disgrace and it's embarrassing.
Didn't your opponent, Mark Finchem, didn't he say that he wouldn't count any of the ballots from Maricopa County, which is the most populous county in Arizona, where you were an office holder?
Yeah, I was the county recorder who ran the 2020 election that was subject to the Cyber Ninja audit. I know these systems inside and out, and Mr. Finchem does not. He has no idea what he's talking about. His conspiracy theories are based completely in lies and ignorance. And for him to make any proposals about not counting American ballots really lays bare his fealty to one person, this kind of pseudo-totalitarian, authoritarian fascism where one person becomes a supreme leader and your vote just doesn't matter as long as he decides that it doesn't matter. That's not how America is supposed to work. His attitude is anti-American. He does not have, he really ought not have a place in the public conversation. That being said, we're going to beat him at the ballot box. We're going to make sure that he and his type go away. And I'm excited about facing him on Tuesday and throughout all of early voting as we have since October 12th, because we've got an election season in Arizona, not an election day.
You've been noticeably using tougher language than others in the Democratic Party. You called January 6th an act of terror. You push back on the phrase election deniers. You instead call the people who spread these election conspiracies liars and fascists. Do you worry at all that that risks inflaming what already seems an already angry electorate in a combustible situation?
How much angrier can they be when they erect a gallows to hang Mike Pence? How much more outside of civility can they be if they're standing wearing camouflage and long rifles threatening voters? That these people are already insecure. They are already cowards, and they are already at the precipice. If we mealy-mouth around what they truly are, which is domestic terrorists, if we treat them with kid gloves because we're worried about their feelings, then what we're doing is playing to their trap and legitimizing their position, which is absolutely illegitimate. There are no two sides in this fight. There is the American side, and then there's the MAGA side. And I'm hoping that just like all of the Republicans and independents, that whole coalition that we've built in this campaign, I'm hoping the rest of the country comes to and says, look, and Republicans alike, we've got Adam Kinzinger's endorsement, we've got a sitting member of our House of Representatives. We need to start treating these thugs and criminals like the domestic terrorists that they are. They are eroding confidence in our elections. They are destroying America. There is no two-siderism here, and we need to be forceful in pushing back against them.
So quickly, if you could, because we're running out of time, why is it even close? I mean, you have candidates, not just Mark Fincham, but Kerry Lake and others who are openly telling the citizens of Arizona, I wouldn't have counted your votes. I wouldn't have certified the election. So why is it so competitive?
Well, it's competitive because candidates like myself and my opponent were relatively unknown just a few weeks ago, in all honesty. Our campaigns, I was a county official. He's in the House of Representatives. It's a very large electorate. In fact, when we started, 1 in 5 Arizonans had never heard our names. But we are winning. We're winning the undecided voters by a 2-to-1 margin over the last set of numbers. And so I'm excited about continuing this campaign to help spread the good word.
Adrian,